kiss and hug me. Come on, strong, go on and love me. Stop waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you want to be more than friends.
Welcome, Social Web Cafe viewers. Today we have Terry Van Horne here with us, and he's a man of many talents, but today he's going to be talking about SEO. So Terry, welcome.
Hi, great to see you, Deborah. Finally me.
Yes, I've heard such wonderful things about you, so it's great to have you on the show.
Well, that's good to hear. That's a first.
I'll have to tell you that. Compliments aside, you want to tell us about the real Terry, your background, how you got into SEO?
Yeah, I come from a direct marketing background. I started out as a web developer, mainly because I couldn't afford to have someone else do it for me, and I was doing marketing on the internet. My brother and I actually started doing digital marketing before the internet was really popular. We had a bulletin board that we were trying to do marketing on it. So
wow,
got into the digital marketing pretty early.
Now, okay, when you say bulletin board, okay, I'm trying to think like a 20-something-year-old, which might take a little work.
Yeah,
but
that would be long before them. That would be 20 years ago. The internet kind of started from a bunch of bulletin boards connecting up. It was, early days.
Now, bulletin board, the old style bulletin board was more like almost like a chat, like a text chat type mechanism, wasn't it?
Yeah, would be very much like IRC, actually.
Okay, all right, wow. So you really know your stuff. You've been doing this for a while.
Well, that was mainly my brother. I just kind of hung out and watched him. He's still doing servers. He went into networking, and I went into marketing and web development.
Okay. Now, you said direct marketing. Is there a difference between direct marketing and direct selling?
No, not really, I guess. It was more response marketing. I did the, little ads in newspapers. I've done all those sorts of things over my career. Yeah. Did a bunch of telemarketing. My last telemarketing job, actually, when web development was a little slow, I managed a campaign for Time Life books.
Excellent. Wow, you've had a lot of experience.
Yeah, I've been selling stuff since I was about 9 years old.
So how did you get into, because SEO, now don't you do some training on SEO?
Yup, at the dojo. We like to say that we just teach people how to get things done. Training part is basically just giving you the tools to make the decisions, because SEO is basically just a bunch of decisions usually. And I got into SEO because once you build a website, you want to get traffic to it. So I always was marketing websites, and one of the channels that I excelled at was SEO, because in the old days, it was mainly about getting visibility for a website. So a lot of, when you got into the higher end programs like e-commerce, you had to have some sort of programming and that sort of experience in order to do SEO. So it's mainly about just getting those things that were very hard for search engines to index. Like now we think 3 parameters, no problem. Well, in the old days, a parameter was a problem for a search engine. So that's what we spent a lot of our time doing, was making these things that weren't very visible.
That makes sense, because, there had to be a mechanism pre-WordPress. Now it seems hard to imagine that we didn't have all the tools that we have now, but pre-WordPress, where people are just learning HTML and how do I put this stuff so that and back then, weren't there a ton of search engines? Like I'm thinking Alta Vista.
Oh, yeah. But it was very similar in that in those days, it was Yahoo who had an even bigger share than Google has. If you can imagine that. At its height, Yahoo had about 95% of the B2B business searches on the internet.
Oh, that's right. Wow, I'm really accessing data here. That was you had to like there are people that would you could pay them $300 to get your link on the Yahoo directory.
When I started, it was free. That was actually a few years in when they started inclusion, and inclusion was a big deal because basically that was paying for links. But the difference is the search engines actually okayed it, basically put their stamp of approval. You have to remember that Yahoo in the very beginning played an instrumental part in crawling because for a lot of the search engines, Yahoo was the start of where they crawled from. So they have to start with a list of URLs, right? So Yahoo was their list basically. And then it became DMOZ. Things progress on the internet. Changing.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So everyone kind of depended. That's why that was the key place to be was Yahoo.
That was part of it, yeah. And the fact that was the search engines in those early days were not anything like we have now. They were basically just count how many matches there were on a page. There was no link analysis. It wasn't until, probably the very late 90s that web crawlers started using some link data in there. But it wasn't really for ranking. I think that was still on the discovery side of things. It was when Google came and actually built a ranking algorithm around it that the links became really important.
Now, it seems like Google's been around forever, and I know we're going into like SEO history here, but when do you recall Google really becoming part of that forefront?
When they began, Yahoo made the mistake of letting them become their default search engine. So when you searched on Yahoo, it used to just search its own directory, right? And then it brought in Google to provide the search results. So you could either browse the directory or use the search engine. While Google quickly became the choice of everybody for searching. And that's basically, Yahoo handed it on a silver platter, basically, because they had 95% of the business searches at the time that they handed it to Google. So
wow.
Basically, Yahoo handed Google handed the wand off to Google, and, now they're outside looking in.
I wonder if there's a marketing lesson in there as far as how to take over your competitor or how not to lose your business.
You'd be very careful of competitors when you're letting them in front of your audience. That's something you can learn, eh?
That makes sense. So now you have a really interesting.
Also look at it. Yahoo had the chance to buy them at that point. Yahoo actually owns a part of Google.
So they had an opportunity to own.
They still do, but they did at one point.
They could have owned a bigger chunk.
Could have owned it all.
Wow.
They were actually offered by Google.
Well, they could have been the big papa.
They didn't want it. There you go. But actually, Yahoo is became more of like a content network like that, and they're still building that part of it out. Watching the history of Yahoo is very interesting because they're basically gone from full circle back to just a display network. So they've gone the full gamut.
Wow, that is interesting. Now, you have a interesting view as far as SEO that differs a little bit. Like, I see so many different networking groups and marketing groups and, on Skype, on G+, and they're all like, what's Matt Cutts saying? And I know we're on a Google platform, and I respect you, Matt Cutts, but I'm curious to hear Terry's thoughts on worshiping Matt Cutts in Google.
One of the advantages to being around as long as I have and my partner, Dave Harry, we've seen a lot of things, and we're both, as you can tell, nuts about the history of search engines and the progression of the technology. So for me, it's like that. I watch the technology, and I'm I would say that I've never done things like most SEOs, and that's what we teach. We don't teach, we don't believe in having a curriculum, for one thing, because it's out of date as soon as you write it. So we tend to do things on what's going on now and trying to stay ahead of that. We call it future proofing. So
That's a good idea. So you go more for classic rather than kind of a fad approach?
oh yeah, I'm a classic. I still believe it's all about the website. You know, you can use tricks and manipulation and get found in the search engines, but if you go to a crappy website, what was the purpose? Like, no one's going to buy anything. So it kind of defeats the purpose. So I've always been someone who concentrated on the website, knowing that good website with a little promotion will go. You know, and right now that's actually the techniques that Google has gone back to really, you know, getting behind. The people who are not building links, but doing it naturally by just promoting their site. That's what Dave and I have always preached. Don't build links, attract links, and just promote your website as normal. Like, they won't see that as unnatural, that you're posting in places. They will see it when they see you commenting on forums with links and that kind of stuff. So basically, we believe that there's no such thing as building links. You attract them by just doing good. As Dave says, be remarkable and you'll get links. So
That's really classic. Not building them, but attracting links.
Oh yeah, and that's what we did in the old days too. Like, before we had data, it was all about reviewing the website, figure out what they're doing, and because we had no data, you kind of had to look at what the other people were doing and say, okay, how can I do that better? And that fits right into the value add part that Google is stressing so much these days, right? Like, you can't just be an aggregator. You gotta add value. So either through your reviews, the quality of the, you know, what you aggregate, that sort of thing. But you have to differentiate yourself some way. And I think that's kind of gone out of the business a little bit. They tend to be, what I found is that over the years, SEO has become so much about all this data and, you know, basically what we used to call data mining in marketing, like we did data, you know, and to me, that's like old school. Like, and besides, you know, the main thing changes that are happening now is Google is going from a keywords driven search to an entity search. So it's kind of gone from strings to things. So, you know, keywords are becoming less and less. That's why when I saw it today, Google's going to force this on people by just not giving them the data. Like, if you don't have keywords to obsess over, guess what? You go to building an audience and doing it the right way. Like, that's and I'm sure in your situation you found too, rather than trying to build traffic with keywords, build an audience and find where your audience is and look to attract the audience. That's what it's more about now, rather than building these links and often with, you know, content that you won't put down your social channel. It's so bad, right? Like, that's, to me, when people see correlation between social and ranking, it's because I believe that if content isn't high enough quality that you'll put it on your social channels, Google ignores it because it knows it's crap.
That's interesting. That's interesting. It's like
That's
Google
a theory
has
of
caught
mine, not saying, you know, that's kind of the kind of stuff that theories that I run on, though. Things like that. I don't try and figure things out. It's more about, this makes sense, so I'm going to do this.
Sounds like common sense. I mean, I have to admit, it didn't pop in my head. Obviously, it popped in yours, and thank you for, for sharing that. But I mean, it does make a lot of sense what you're sharing because there's so many people that are running around going, "What's Matt Cutts saying? And what technique do I need to do?" And really, what you're saying is, let's go back to the basics. Let's have quality content.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Google is not going to, or you can see that there's this battle that they're not going to make. They've seen the web turn from something really great to pockets of it being just pure, not worth. It's just a waste of disk space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And personally, I'd rather see higher quality results when I search. I don't want to have to go through like these link sites where there's 1,000 links and they really say nothing.
Yep. And that was for a long time when you figured that they were allowing the article marketing. That's one of my favorite things to kind of point out. Now, this is the epitome of low quality. Like when you go to an article marketing site, you read 10 articles, one might be even passable. The rest are just, 300 words with so many links in it. So they get, something from Google. It never made sense to me. I never really did that. I would only go where there's an audience.
Now, what is the definition of article marketing? Because people still do that as far as trying to, like for instance, I write articles on Google Hangouts, and that relates to my brand. But they're like one of my articles, 2,500 words. I really put a lot of work into that. Is that?
I'm talking the old 300 words bought in India for like $3 a post, and that kind of lovely stuff that and basically I think Google's come to the conclusion that they rewarded that, and that's done. Like, I don't really think you'll see that again.
Personally, as a user, I'm glad. I want to find quality.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that just to give you an idea, this is how our SEO strategy differs from others as well. When we started, the name of the dojo is SEO Training Dojo. Obviously, SEO training is our keywords, right? So we looked at them. We're on page 3. And when we looked at all the sites above us, the only way we were going to beat them was to do article marketing and all that other crap, because that's what was sitting above us. There were a few other good sites, but most of it was, when I started looking at it, it was all article marketing and, what I call crap hat SEO or cookie cutter. So we decided instead of going after those terms, let's just build out use that activity. Instead of doing that activity, let's build out our social channels. And we did it at exactly the right time. So we ended up, with nice channels when it mattered. Whereas we could have chased the other, the crap hat stuff and got it right away. But we waited, and this is a discussion that I've had many times with my buddy Steve Gerentzer about the time that it takes to do it right. You have to let your clients know. You might be looking at it. It took, in our case, about 18 months to 2 years to finally get those rankings, but we went from page 3 to number 3 almost overnight. Like when Penguin 2 was released, bang, went from page 3 stuck to number 3. So
wow. So you did all that behind the scenes quality. It's like going in there and digging and people don't see what's going on, but it all paid off, like your quantum leap.
That's another way that we differ a bit, is we don't look at data. I go directly to the SERP and look at it, because I want an idea of what's getting the real estate above the fold. To me, anything below the fold does not matter. So I'm concentrating on that area. So I want to go to the SERP and actually see it. And see what else is going on. Like sometimes you can look at a SERP and see, oh, I'm number 7, but if I just changed a few things, I I would get a higher click-through, and that moves you up as well. So all about analysis of the SERP rather than analysis of data. And, one of my things is I believe you get a successful campaign by winning one SERP at a time. So, instead of going after a whole bunch of keywords, I'll key in on 2 or 3 SERPs a month and drive all the content at those.
Wow, so much of what you're saying, Terry, I think, well, that's common sense. Like, I should have thought of that. Or, and you're sharing this, and it's true. If you're going to the SERPs, you are acting like a user doing a search, and that makes a lot more sense.
For sure.
Than some
and
data analysis report.
Yeah, and that user, the way the user interacts with the SERP is just as important as the data, right?
Wow.
What a user sees on the page, right? I look at that and, try and figure out what's standing out to the user, especially when you start getting pictures and videos in the SERP. Those automatically bring the eyes to those particular results. So that's why it's important. And that's why I also do, as part of my content marketing, I look at these SERPs to determine whether it's best to basically attack it with video, news, or a regular organic post. So I'm looking at, I've got 3 ways to do it. Now there's a 4th way if you put in the knowledge graph as well, right? And do that extra markup. That's my newest thing now, is starting to add in all the schema markup.
Now, what's a easy way to describe that? That seems like a whole nother hour-long session just talking about the schema markup. But how would you describe that to people that never heard of it?
It's like HTML with set taxonomy. Very simple. You go and look it up and click a link, and it gives you all the code right there. Cut and paste. It's not difficult. On WordPress, there are a number of plugins. So you can use that on WordPress.
That was my next question. Is that's probably where people are having, that's where people are having difficulty, is how to incorporate that into WordPress.
Yeah, well, that's why I kind of getting off the CMS thing and going back to writing all my sites by hand again. I've realized that I can probably do it quicker by hand than trying to cobble it together on CMS.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
Well, I've been programming for 15 years, so I have a little bit more skills than the average person.
I hear you, because I write all my articles in straight HTML. I just think that way. So it's like when there's a heading and I'm doing that, and people are like, "You're really weird. Why aren't you doing this in Word?" And it's like, why do I want to do it in Word when I can just do it straight HTML?
Yeah, right. Like, see it right there too, because I use a WYSIWYG editor, so I can kind of see what's jumping out on the page, and also you can't add proper document structure in Word. So to me, I'm old school. That's very important to me, that document structure. So when I see a CMS with 15 H2s on the page, and there should only be one, and links in H1, I kind of say, oh, this little much.
Yeah, that I hear you, because when I see like a link and they open the link, there's no text, but there's just this link or the extra breaks and so forth. It's like messy code. So that's why I like to just do it straight HTML code, so you can control that, so you don't have all this messy code.
Yeah, I found I even had to join all the lines so it would work properly in WordPress, or you get all these broken lines in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't think it's actually meant to be used like that.
Hey, Terry, you mentioned content marketing, and I have a curious question for you. Content marketing versus article marketing.
Okay. Content marketing to me is all content on a website, and it starts with a good content audit. So, taking a look at what content is in what parts of your website, what parts of your buying cycle, etc. Whereas article marketing is just putting crap on crappy sites. That'd be the difference.
That's a good definition.
I hope. And see, that's the thing too. Content marketing is another favorite with me because actually we've been doing it since '98, and we just didn't call it that. Like it's just old school development. Like that's how we did things. You built content because that's how you got seen. And in my case, I started developing content to get my name out there and to demonstrate what I do. And I think for a large part, that's still what websites are about, or should be. It should demonstrate your excellence in a field.
Speaking of, now, how do people find Terry Van Horne?
I think I'm number 2 on Google.
You guys search for your name?
Yeah, I'm on SEO Pros and the Dojo, Skype. Usually I only use my name, so on Skype it's terry.van.horne. I have terryvanhorne.com, which is a Tumblr. Lots of ways to find me.
Terry, thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about SEO. And
No
for you Social Web Cafe viewers, you'll need to tune in because we will have him back again talking about another talent. So you'll have to keep watch for that.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you.
Don't you wanna kiss and hug me? Come on strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say, if you wanna be more than friends, got some love I'd like to make. Maybe you can squeeze me, I won't break.